everyone, I'm going to tell you about our study that we're doing here at Kingston University, co-designing a toolkit of approaches and resources for end-of-life care planning with people with learning disabilities within social care settings.
That's jargon. It's rubbish.
Oh, should we make it a bit easier then, Amanda? How about calling it end-of-life care planning with people with learning disabilities?
That's a bit easier.
Or we could name it after Victoria and Stuart. Let's call it the Victoria and Stuart Project.
That's much better.
Here are some of our specific questions that we're asking within this study.
What is end-of-life care planning? Why should we do end-of-life care planning? When should we start planning? Who should help and be involved in planning? And the most difficult question of all, how should we do it?
We held 10 focus groups with people who may or could or perhaps even should be involved in end-of-life care planning with people with learning disabilities.
I went to Reading with Irena to do focus groups with people with learning disabilities and to find out what their thoughts were for end-of-life care for themselves and if they had thought about it or not thought about it. But we got some very good positive answers and a lot of good things came out of the sessions that we did.
So the first question we asked was, what do you actually think of when we say end-of-life care planning? What does that mean? And that was really interesting because it turned out that it was a number of different things.
The first thing people said was funeral planning.
And that was really mentioned by all groups, and quite often people, even when we talked about other aspects of end-of-life care planning, kept coming back to that, planning for after I die. So funerals, wills, those kind of things.
The second thing people talked about, what will happen when I'm ill and dying?
And those were things like not just what will happen when I'm ill, so where would I be? Would I be in hospital or at home? Who is going to look after me? What treatment do I want? So illness planning, it also included do not resuscitate decisions.
How do I want to live?
Questions like, what matters to me? Who is important to me? How do I make decisions about my life? What makes me feel safe? What makes me feel comfortable? But these were questions that were really not just about end of life and dying, but that were important throughout people's lives.
How people manage to talk about death and dying.
What we found out and the things people said about who and why and when, it depends whether you're talking about funeral planning, are you talking about planning what treatment I want when I'm particularly ill. There are differences and difficulties in knowing when to do this, depending on what it is you're actually talking about.
When should we plan?
Let's just listen to Jordan, who was in one of our focus groups.
But like Dimensions asked me to do my end of life at 29. So I'm like, I've just thought that was a bit too early.
What happened?
Well, they said to me, have you thought about how you're going to die? And I just turned around and said, well, I haven't thought about how I'm going to live yet, you know. And what I will say is that if I did do my end of life plan at 29, what happens when I get to 79 and all the things I put at 29 have changed? So if you were to ask a 29-year-old without a learning disability whether they've done their end of life plan, I would bet money on it that all of them would say no.